What up, New York Giant Nation and football fans all over the world? It's your boy, Mac the Giants fan. I got my guy, the super dope co-host, Adam Costas. You know what time it is. It is time for the real deal NFC East Round-Up. Punch that intro, baby. Yo, what is going on? Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Week 11 edition of the Real Deal NFC East Roundup. How you doing today, Adam?
Today I am doing fantastic. We are 7-2. Things couldn't be better.
You absolutely right. 7-2. A spot nobody really thought this New York Giants was going to be in right now, but the whole damn division is looking pretty good, sitting in a really good spot right now. NFC East is wide open at this point with plenty of football left to be played and a lot of divisional matchups left to be played. So it's going to be interesting going down the stretch here in this division. And one more thing before we get all the way started, just want to do something right quick. You know what I mean? Just want to pop them bottles a little bit. Shout out to the 72 Miami Dolphins. You know what I mean? Once again, their record is protected for another year at least. The only world championship undefeated team in the history. So shout out to those Miami Dolphins from 1972, as there are no more undefeated teams left, and we will be getting to that later on. But shout out to Don Shula and Mercury Morris and Larry Zonka and Bob Greasy. I don't know if they all alive still, honestly, but shout out to them anyway, man. And their record is safe for another year. Oh, I know Don Shula passed away a couple years ago, but I don't know about the rest of them. But shout out to them 72 Dolphins, man. Once again, the record hanging on strong to that record, a 50-year record. Impressive.
Well, it is one of those things where, I always listen for Chris Berman and the Champagne Pop because, yeah, I mean, we don't see this every year, and it's hard to win in this league, and so yeah, 50 years. That's a long time, man.
50 years, man. And
probably maybe the only record that may not be broken by just sheer, because you got to think of that. The season is getting longer, not shorter, right? So there's always a room for a slippage, going down the road. But this is probably a topic for another show, another time.
Oh, absolutely. But, I mean, it's just, it's going to be very tough for that record to go down. But some teams have threatened it. I mean, the Carolina Panthers came pretty close back in, 2015 also. I think they only lost, 2 games on the season. Or they might have only lost 1 game.
I mean, the Patriots
obviously, the Patriots came really, really close, obviously. We know how close the Patriots came.
They're a fingernail away from basically being 19-0. Yeah.
I mean,
thank God he didn't get that record too, man. I mean, Brady has every record known to man, but he doesn't have the NYG 22. He doesn't have the undefeated record, which is kind of like, man, he's getting a wing in the Hall of Fame anyways, and just to not have 19-0 is kind of great.
Yeah, what's going on, Unpopular Opinion, man? Thanks for stopping in, bro. We're going to get right into this.
Boom, boom.
We're going to take it away. 1 o'clock p.m. on Sunday, the Houston Texans came to visit the New York Football Giants. And the New York Giants would leave this game 7-2, baby, with a 24-16 victory over the Houston Texans, man. Good stuff, definitely. What's going on, Philly B? Good stuff. So this New York Giant team, man, let me get that back up there. I'm sorry. But this New York Giant team just still keep finding ways to win. Like I said, we're not the most conventional 7-2 football team, but 7-2 is 7-2. And like I got once again, like Bill Parcells said, you are what your record says you are. And right now we are sitting at 7-2, and there are only two teams in the league that have a better record than us, and that is the Minnesota Vikings and the Philadelphia Eagles. So right now
Who
we are
we
sitting.
both see this year. Who we
Yes,
both
we
see
will play
this year,
both of
right?
those football teams very, very soon, as a matter of fact. So
Could be for
we'll
all we
see.
know. Could be for the conference title, right? Could be for the division number one seed. Who knows?
I mean, we're kind of hoping on that. It could be. I hope it has those kind of implications on the line. Put that pressure on that team that's going to be favored to win over the New York Giants, because you know that's how it's going to go down. You know what I mean? So put that extra pressure on them. I'm all for that, man. So this football team here, man, keeps finding a way. Like and like I said, it's Saquon Barkley, man. He's the absolute, without a shadow
Catalyst.
of doubt, the leader of this football team. Like 35 carries, 152 yards, and a big touchdown on Sunday. This team absolutely climbed up on this man's shoulders and just rode the wave all the way to a victory on Sunday, man. And they got some pretty solid play from their quarterback, Daniel Jones. I mean, 13 to 17, 197 yards, and two touchdowns on the day. I mean, look, the numbers don't pop off the page at you, but at the same time, they're still solid. I mean, he only had four incompletions, and we know a couple of them were drops. And look, the kid's still, to me, the kid's playing solid football. He's getting the job done. We're going to go down that rabbit hole early, Adam. I'm going right down there right now.
well, you may be going down the rabbit hole by yourself because, listen, look, I will get, just for the record, I will put it out there. He is playing decent football. Do I think it's the greatest football I've ever seen? No. Have I seen him play absolutely better? Yes. Do I think he's doing what's being asked of him? Yes. Is he doing it well? Yes. But there's a reason why he's not throwing interceptions. There's a reason why, someone threw a stat up at Twitter today, and Twitter is a deadly place to go to. I would not recommend going there, but someone threw something on Twitter where it was like, Josh Allen has 10 interceptions, blah, blah, blah. I'm looking at it like, well, why does Josh Allen have 10 interceptions? Ask yourself that question. What are they doing? They're throwing the ball. They're being aggressive. They don't give a damn about turnovers. The same things that we heard Brian Dable say about Daniel being aggressive early on in the season. Now, he hasn't turned the ball over, which is great, but he also had put it in harm's way as much. Whether that be the receivers or the play call, there's a lot of things that go on here. But, hey, he played a solid game. Again, I wish he still had over 200, but, if Kenny Golladay doesn't drop that pass,
it's well
maybe
over
has
200 if Ken Golladay doesn't drop it. There's no maybe. If Ken Golladay doesn't drop that one pass, he has well over 200 yards. Kenny Golladay would have had a huge play.
Well, if we get into ifs and buts, if the DB tackles Darius Slayton, he doesn't go for a 54-yard touchdown.
You're right. So, you're absolutely right.
So,
but that comes to
the point.
I always say, playmakers making plays for their quarterback, and that's what these guys do on these other teams.
But at the same, yes, and that's why I said it's a solid game. There was a controversial throw that we'll make, and we'll get into Kenny Golladay in a minute and a few of the things. But since we're going down this rabbit hole, look, Daniel's an average guy to me. I'm going to try to be as unbiased and evil or whatever they say, because on Twitter Spaces, someone got into me. They're like, "Hey, Adam, you're the type of guy that hates Daniel. No matter what he does, you hate him." Da, da, da. And that's not true. I've liked Daniel up until now, but now he's playing at a level where we're like, all right, it's not like over the top great, nothing that we haven't seen before. It's like, hey, man, he's not fumbling and we're winning, so we'll be quiet. Meanwhile, at the beginning of the year, and I remember these conversations, we were all like, Daniel needs that 4,800 yards and 33 touchdowns and blah, blah, blah in order for us to keep him. Now he's winning games, and those are all quelled. So I'll leave it at that for now. The other thing I wanted to mention about Daniel is that this one throw I called it lucky, I think, on Twitter Space. And boy, did I get roasted for that. They were like, if that were Patrick Mahomes, you would be like, that's great. What are you talking about? Daniel Jones, you don't give him any credit. Like, dude, the dude had 3 guys in his face and was about to get crushed and threw one up to his receiver who happened to be in the area. He saw a blue jersey and threw it that way. Slayton, who, give him credit, actually almost dropped the pass, but he caught it, corralled it, turned around, realized there was nobody there, outdanced the rookie and raced up the sideline. So it's a moot point. But how I explained to people in the Twitter space what I thought the pass looked like is when you're in the NBA and you're running down court and your man pulls up for a 3-pointer, at the last second from 27 feet out, and you could have taken a better play, or the safer play was maybe just to live to see another day, right? But he takes a 28 footer, and you're like, no, and it goes through the net, swish, and you're like, oh, okay, great, and you run back down court. That's how I felt that pass was. It was like, no, oh shit, he scored. You know what I mean?
Well, look, but see, here's where this is my thing with Daniel Jones. This is how I'm gonna approach this takedown, because I hear what you're saying, but that's all quarterbacks. All quarterbacks get those kind of plays off, and none are more scrutinized than Daniel Jones when he does it. When Daniel Jones does it, it's more looked at as just complete luck and everything else, and it is luck. That's definitely luck involved. But it's with all other quarterbacks is the same way. But nobody wants to look at it like that with other quarterbacks. What people are saying is when they were coming at you, probably I wasn't in the Twitter space and saying you wouldn't say that if Patrick Mahomes did that. I think what they really mean to really be like is just that
sounded exactly like him.
Nobody looks at it like that when it's Patrick Mahomes. Everybody just looks at it as another great play by Patrick Mahomes, and then that's it. End of discussion.
Right.
With Daniel Jones, every pass is so scrutinized. Every incompletion he throws is so much more scrutinized than any other quarterback in this league. And I mean any other quarterback.
Right.
Every single pass. It's like we look at every pass he makes, and it's like all quarterbacks have bad reads. All quarterbacks throw bad passes.
Exactly.
But when Daniel Jones does it, it's magnified, is what I'm getting at. It's just so much more magnified. Like, it's as if, like, nobody else does this except for Daniel Jones. And it's like, everybody does it.
And I agree. And I agree with you. That's why I don't necessarily because people come at me on the phone too. They're like, well, that guy just threw a terrible pass. Why are you on? Because he's not my quarterback. It was a terrible pass for the Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, it was a terrible pass. But it's Patrick Mahomes. He's doing backflips in the end zone, and it works out. So I'm not as crazy about it. But I understand certain things come with certain players. Right? Daniel, to me, if you look at it, is a very conservative quarterback. He doesn't want to make the mistake. And sometimes him playing hero ball has led him to these interceptions. That's just a fact, right? So what I'm looking at it like is this. Like, look, he's played good. He also plays good against bad teams. That's been his MO his whole career. I need him to do this because my thing is this. If that pass happens against the Dallas Cowboys, is it a touchdown? I don't know if they're going to be out of position like that rookie was. You know what I mean? So while it's a great pass and all, the guy was wide open. It's not like he passed it and the guy was there and he made Darius Slayton had to catch the ball. It's then he turns around and there's the DB who is, I don't know what the hell the DB was doing. He's probably a rookie and he probably scared. But anyways, those are some of my points. He's a
rookie that's been struggling all year with tackling. That's been one of his biggest things they were mentioning on broadcast.
Right. And the other thing I don't want to hear about anymore is I don't want to hear about bad receivers anymore. Okay, there were guys open. There were plays to be made. I don't want to hear about it anymore. I don't want to hear about it anymore because Kenny Golladay was open. Whether he catches the ball or not, he was open. Isaiah Hodgins was wide open. Darius Slayton was wide open. The guys made catches. That's the only difference that we're talking about. Darius Slayton didn't just change into the superhero star receiver overnight. He was Darius Slayton. The difference is he hasn't dropped the football, so it looks a little different. That's all, right? So I'm done with wanting to hear about this anymore. Yes, we don't have the greatest receiving core, but go out there and make plays. Let's talk about a couple of the receivers. Mac, let's talk about the man, the myth, the legend of Kenny G. Missing Kenny G, who, by the way, I mentioned this earlier. I did.
But look, Kenny Galladay. Okay, look, 2 targets, 2 drops. One of them is questionable drop. He could, like I said, made a better effort for the catch.
Thank you,
But at the
unpopular.
same time, it wasn't a great throw. But and from the same standpoint, what you just said is like you said. Guys are getting open, and when they get open, he throws the ball to them. And if they don't, and if they catch it, they catch it, which is what they're supposed to do, which is what they get paid to do. But if they don't, which has been the case a lot of as well, what do you want a guy to do? After a while, you're going to lose confidence in these receivers. You're going to lose confidence in their ability to make plays. And
I think
the fact of the matter
NYG.
is,
Sorry, I think NYG is pointing out to what you're saying almost. Yes, sure, he's can't throw the ball, but they're playing ball control offense. So,
that also they're using playing to their strength. They're like I said it like I mentioned it on a preview show before the game. You got to utilize your best player. You just got to showcase your best player, and we know who our best player is. He's the running back. And 35 carries later, we controlled that clock, and did what we had to do to win the football game. We played to our strength. Our strength is not throwing the ball to our very subpar receivers, which, by the way, were basically, except for Kenny Galladay and Darius Slayton, all on the practice squad at some point during this the off season or the regular season or whatever. I guess Richie James wasn't either. But,
minus Wan'Dale Robinson.
Wan'Dale Robinson as well. Also,
yeah, but Richie James is an undrafted player. It's not like he's was drafted.
Yeah, so we're talking about guys that, other than those three, other than Wan'Dale Robinson, Galladay, and Darius Slayton, we're talking about the rest of our wide receiving core is a bunch of guys that would have a very difficult time making any other NFL roster, any other NFL roster. Seriously, this is not even an exaggeration. So these are the guys he's working with. And one thing we were talking about when you mentioned earlier, like have you seen Daniel Jones play better football? I haven't seen him play better football, in my opinion. Like, I'm throwing the stats out the window. Forget the touchdown passes from his rookie season. The
400-yard game against the Saints. That was a great.
That was a great game, yeah. But I mean, I'm talking about overall though. This season overall, he's playing the best football of his career overall.
If you want to say in a stretch of games, I guess so. Yeah. You know what it is, Mac, is like what NYG said. They're not putting him in harm's way. That's why we don't see the turnovers. What I want to
do you want him to put it in harm's way though? Like, you want to see him put it in harm's way? Seriously?
I want to see them threatening down the field a little bit more. That doesn't mean I want him to throw carelessly to the other team. No. What I want to see is them take the reins off him. And if they don't take the reins off him, the teams that we're playing coming up are what? The Vikings, the Commanders, the Cowboys are the big teams that we're playing, right? They know how to defend the run very well. And they're going to challenge Daniel to open it up and say, hey, listen, beat us. We're not going to let you win with your legs, which, obviously he hasn't run that much in the last few weeks. And then they obviously are not going to let Barkley just destroy. What's good, AK? So, Paul Schwartz said it best. At some point, he even said, you guys got to throw the ball. And Dable kind of gave him an answer like, well, we're kind of doing it this way. At some point in this league, you're going to have to throw it, because they're going to take it away. And if you don't trust your quarterback to put the ball
it's not the quarterback they don't trust. I'm telling you, it's the receivers they don't trust.
But Mac, the guys are getting that's what. But I'm saying the guys are getting open. So it can't just be one side and not the other, right? So, there's always this coin. I don't just believe that the receivers are that bad where it's every day. Slayton was open. Hodges, who we have no idea, got wide open. We're talking about wide open. We're talking about nobody around him. So the scheme is working to get these guys open. If you want to say they weren't making plays before, fine. But at the same time, there's times where Daniel was checking it down as well, right? Where he was like taking the safe route. And I don't know if that's him being told to take the safe route, or if that's him saying, I don't want to make a big play. Let me just take the safe play and go. Because against these other teams, they're going to challenge him. They're going to say, hey, listen, if you're not going to throw it downfield, we're going to come at you, and we're just going to let you do your dink and dunk, and stop you that way.
Well, all right. That's okay. Look, I've also seen Daniel Jones drop back. Offensive line, we know offensive line is not obviously the greatest either, but they're better than they have been in years. I see him drop back sometimes. Good, clean pocket. He's sitting there. He's looking, and he's looking. And he has to either take off and start trying to run and scramble and get something, or check down because nobody's getting open downfield. If people was getting open, he'd throw the ball down there.
But
And he's sitting back
they're
there just scanning the field and looking. That's my point.
but
Our
you
receivers are
look at
not
Kirk
winning
Cousins.
enough on their routes. They're
Look at
not
Kirk
winning
Cousins.
enough on their routes.
The play to Justin Jefferson, and I know what people are going to say. There's no Justin Jefferson on this team. He threw the ball to his receiver, said, go up and make a play. Worst case scenario, game's over. Best case scenario, you catch the ball. Even better scenario, we get a penalty, game continues. Right? We don't have – how many defensive pass interferences do we have? I think we have more offensive pass interferences than we do defensive pass interferences called on us. Now, if you bring in a guy like Odell Beckham, let's just say, because there are rumors he might come, that would change up the narrative a little bit. But are you going to utilize him where he doesn't have to run slant routes every time? Because I just think sometimes to open up Barkley in some of these games, you're going to have to air it out. Because if Slayton can win on one, which we know he can, when there's a one-on-one, you got to take it. You can't just take the check down because you want to be safe. There's a guy one-on-one, throw it up there. Worst case scenario is intercepted or dropped. Best case scenario is caught or it's a defensive pass interference. You know what I'm saying? But that loosens up the defense. Now the next time they come out and you're in that same formation, they can't just rely that it's going to be a run play or that you're not going to go deep. People start to key on that, man.
I get it. I get all of that. But you got to have the horses, man. How many teams would Darius Slayton be a number one receiver on in this league? Seriously. None. Exactly. But he's our number one guy right now. He's our number one guy right now.
He's made plays in this league. Okay. He has the ability to go deep. The Rand runs a 4-3. Okay.
No,
You're telling me that you can't try to lace one in there? I mean, look at Tyrod Taylor came into the game against the Bears after they threw a deep one. Remember, Darius Slayton dropped that deep one, right? They threw it. Tyrod comes in the game. One of the first things he does is roll one up there. And sees his receiver's going to make a play. Now, it was terrible because the pass was inside and Slayton's running outside. So, obviously, he had no chance to make it. But I'm not saying, hey, I want that interception because the interception sucks. But our defense is good that I can take that chance. I know that our defense is good enough to stop these guys, right? So, look, in coaching, that's why a lot of things happen. Josh Allen doesn't just throw an interception, always throw an interception, right? He throws it because they believe that he's going to make the play. Now, against the Vikings, they baited him in there, right? They sat someone underneath. He saw Gabriel Davis breaking in, and he laced one in there, and boom, it was intercepted. Now, I'm not saying to do that right now in the red zone. All I'm saying is once or twice a game, just lay one out there. Worst, like I said, you have a good defense. Worst case scenario gets picked off. I mean, really, really worst case scenarios get picked off, goes to the house. But let's just say it gets intercepted and picked off. It's a punt at that point, and you can just let your defense play and not worry about it. You know what I'm saying?
This is what I'm getting at here. The same thing. I just feel like the conservative play is because it's the talent, man. Every example you're giving me, you're naming guys that are significantly better than the guys we have here. Every example you're giving, and that's with all due respect, every example you're giving. Like you just said, a play Josh Allen and Gabriel Davis would far and away be our top guy if he was here.
How about
far and away.
Tyler Heineke? Tyler Heineke is not a quarterback, but they're throwing the ball downfield. Now, I know they got Scary Terry and all those guys, but they're trying to do it.
Who is he throwing the ball to, though? Of course, if you had Terry McLaurin, it doesn't matter who your quarterback is.
But you can't. But if you're going to play that predictable, I just don't. Listen, I'm going to put my Inspector Gadget hat on. There's going to be a million things coming out of my head and my hands. Go, Gadget arm. Go, Gadget hand. I got the helicopter shit too, right? The thing is, I'm not just putting on the wide receivers. I think it's a bit. There's a bit of everything, right? Yes, you don't trust the wide receiver, but if it's open on the play, he could be Joe fucking Schmo. You got to lace it in there and see what happens. And if they do that same play again, lace it in there and see what happens. Make what happened with Kenny Golladay, make the coach make that choice. Because Kenny Golladay, $72 million, fucking drops 2 passes in his hand and rides the pine for the rest of the game. Guy named Isaiah Hodgins off the Bills practice squad comes in and has 2 catches for 44 yards. I think that's even more yards than Kenny Golladay has in a season.
I mean, look, it is. It absolutely is, by the way. And but
that's terrible.
But okay, here's another example. What was Josh Allen's numbers gaudy before Stephon Diggs got there? Did he have gaudy numbers before Stephon Diggs got there? He did not. Did Tua is mentioned in the MVP conversation now? All of a sudden, they wanted to run this dude out of town just last year. Tyreek Hill's there. All of a sudden, Tua can throw the ball all over the damn field.
I get what you're saying because Eli Manning had Plaxico Burress, and Jeremy Shockey.
Yeah.
I understand. I understand.
And Hakeem Nicks.
But the Patriots had David Patton and David Givens, right? And Brady wasn't good. Brady wasn't good that year. They won with scheme, but they still were able to throw the ball downfield and make things happen. All I'm saying to you is, even if your team is right, people are still going to make 3-point shots. You just got to take them. It's about the attempts, not necessarily who you're throwing it to. Sometimes you just got to make the defense believe that you're going to do that, because I've seen many guys, Dominic Hickson, catch balls deep down the field who aren't number 1 receivers. They got to make plays when they're there. And the whole point about a coach to kind of put them in the right spot. And when they're in that right spot, it's up to your quarterback to put it on them. And all I'm saying is, whether it's Kafka, whether it's he is being coached up to do it, something's got to give, and they've got to go downfield, I feel, in order to win. Because this way, people are just going to sit. If this is the formula, they're not going to have any problems with us. They're just going to say, all right, you don't go deep anyways. So we're just gonna bring all out blitz because our corners are good enough to cover your fucking receivers.
I mean, that's kind of what's happening right now, unfortunately. And I just feel like the opportunities aren't there as much as you're saying that they are. That's
even
how bad
the Tennessee Titans were downfield. They have nobody on the receiving core. They have nobody. Don't tell me they have anybody.
Don't have a lot of household names. I'm
not
having any household names, but
right, look, Traylon Burks ain't doing shit. They threw a touchdown pass to a guy I can't even pronounce his last name. It's 2 fucking names. It's hyphen or whatever, right? They have a washed up Robert Woods. Okay, they still throw the football downfield. I know they have King Henry. You want to talk about a comparison? The Titans are the comparison to the New York Giants, because if you go on their list of teams, they have the same amount of receivers that probably start in the league. And if we do that, and I'm not trying to be all fired up and everything like that, but let's look at Tennessee just to be sure I'm talking about this, right? Because like Traylon Burks is not having a great year. It's not like you're hearing his name every week being tossed out there. Okay, they have guys, and they get it done, and they throw the ball downfield, even though they don't have star receivers, and that's a fact. And I know, Mac, you're probably sitting there like, man, he got me on this one. There is one guy. Look, they have Traylon Burks, Chris Connolly, Cody Hollister, Nick Webster. I don't even know what the fuck that last name is. Ikehina, and then Robert Woods. None of these guys are star receivers. Yet somehow in the game plan, they incorporate somebody going downfield.
I mean, we do too. But their difference is if they make a catch, they make a catch. Our guys aren't doing that. That's what I'm saying. Our guys aren't making plays. Daniel Jones has thrown the ball down the field quite a few times this season, and guys are not making plays. They're just not, Adam. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. They're not. Our receivers are not making enough plays, and I don't think it's mostly on the quarterback. I think it's mostly on them, and they stink. They are terrible. They're not. Darius Slayton, we're going into football games, and Darius Slayton is our number 1 receiver. That dude is a number 3 at best, and he shouldn't be what you call. He shouldn't be a number 1. But he is our number 1, and that's unfortunate. And the thing is, the difference is when you say like guys going downfield, it's different when you're going downfield. When he's coming into the game as our number 1. So of course, defense don't necessarily game planning for him, but in game situations, he's getting number 1 coverage, and he's not a number 1 guy. So it's like
all I'm saying is like
it's a difference.
Yes, but I just give you the Tennessee Titans team. None of those guys have done anything to stimulate you to be like, hey, Traylon Burks is the guy. No, they're missing AJ Brown. That's an absolute fact. But they still had a way to throw it downfield at more than one. I'm not just talking about this game. I'm talking about many different games. They still throw it downfield to try to make plays, to try to flip the field and get quick scores. See, the thing is, everybody wants to just blame the receivers for everything. I can't do that. I'm not that guy, because I'm not going to just say, well, it's only the receivers that stink when I see Darius Slayton getting open. Like, no, it's got to be a little bit more than that. That's all I'm saying. And until I will get to the bottom of it, it will come out and we will find out.
You see what he put up here? This is something we were talking earlier on the phone
Exactly.
yesterday. I said exactly that. No matter
Exactly.
what. I said basically exactly this. He can't win even when we do win.
Were you listening to us unpopular?
No matter what he does, it's not going to matter anyway. Because if he starts launching the ball downfield and turnovers start happening, then all that's just going to come back up again. No matter what he does, it doesn't matter. He checks down where he's playing more safe. We're winning football games, and it's like now, we got to go downfield more.
Right, but I don't have a problem. But the thing is, when your coach says you have no problem throwing interceptions, and then you don't throw any interceptions, and we're not even challenging people down. Like Kenny Golladay shouldn't be running slants. No offense to Kenny Golladay. I don't like him to begin with. I didn't think he was going to be good coming back, and I have been proven wrong. They're probably going to give him another chance against the Lions this week, and we'll move on from this team because we've talked a lot about them. But and this will be the last thing I say, really, is that if you gave him a chance, you gave him a 50-50 ball or a back shoulder throw, those can be made. Those can be. Why not try it out and see if it works?
Yeah, but he put the ball right between the 1 and the 9, and it didn't work. Right between the 1 and the 9, and that didn't work.
I get you.
Right between the 1.
I'm not gonna. Well, I'm not blaming Kenny Golladay. What I'm just saying is, like, Isaiah Hodgins is 6'4". Let's see a little bit more of the deep ball action. But we can move on. I don't want to. Harp on this team.
We have been spending a lot of time on the Giants, but I do have to say one more thing about the Giants. Because we never really talked about the defense at all. The defense, once again, clamping down when it had to. But Dexter Lawrence, I want to talk Dexter Lawrence.
They played dominant.
Dexter Lawrence is just, every week, just getting more and more dominant, more and more just, if this guy's not in the Pro Bowl at the end of the season, I don't know what's going on, man. If he's not an All-Pro, I don't know what's going on. Dexter Lawrence has been playing out of his mind, man, and he's just starting to get more and more props from everybody around. He's starting to get noticed. Aaron Rodgers even went as far to say Dexter Lawrence might be the next Aaron Donald. That could be a bit extreme, but at the same time, that is a hell of a compliment to get, because we all know what Aaron Donald is.
That's a little.
And just want shout out to Dexter Lawrence. Couldn't stop talking about the Giants without mentioning Dexter Lawrence real quick, at least. But you're right. We've been spent a whole half an hour here on the Giants. We do need to move it along.
Against a bad team, they did what they had to do. They still gave up some. Well, Xavier McKinney did. I feel his presence was hurt on that 44-yard run. I know that Dexter was out of the game, but I also think McKinney would have done something a little differently. Dane Belton got his. He got a little schooled, and we'll see what happens going forward against this Detroit Lion team, and we'll get into those games a little later. But because due to time constraints, and talking about Daniel, which we went down the rabbit hole, that was a big hole, man.
I mean, it's always a big hole, brother. The Daniel Jones rabbit hole was huge, bro. It's what it is. But we move on. We had an overtime thriller up in Green Bay in the 4 o'clock window on Sunday. The Dallas Cowboys visiting the Green Bay Packers. The Dallas Cowboys visiting the Green Bay Packers, and it went into overtime, and the Cowboys came up on the short end of the stick, man. And this was a huge loss for the Cowboys as they're staring at the Vikings coming up this Sunday. They really needed this W, and this was a bad L, not a good look. The Green Bay Packers have been a mess. They were on a 5-game losing streak, I believe, and I don't think a lot of people had them beating the Cowboys, and I didn't think they really stood a chance either. But They got the job done, and it's good for the New York Giants to see the Cowboys take another L.
You know, the Cowboys came out a little sluggish. They had a chance to win the football game late. They went for it, and instead of kicking the field goal, which might have changed the game, you have a decent kicker. So I don't know what Mike McCarthy was thinking on that play. There was a lot of controversy that happened with penalties and shit. And let's be honest, Aaron Rodgers had an Aaron vintage game, right? And Christian Watkins came of age, had 3 touchdowns. And I wouldn't be surprised if they beat the Titans, Green Bay, on Thursday night. I think they saved their season for a little bit. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs or anything like that. I don't think that's really going to be the case. But you saw what happened. Now for the Cowboys, it's just kind of interesting to see. Like, because I thought their defense down a little bit. Their defense never seemed to clamp down when it needed to, and I think they lost their corner on the other side, and so losing that corner, you can clearly see that Aaron Rodgers took advantage of that, and they weren't the same. But I will say, Tony Pollard, he's back, man. He's pretty good. Dak Prescott threw a couple costly interceptions, but it's Dak Prescott. He kept slinging, and they were at the end. They made some costly errors in overtime. I thought they should have kicked the field goal instead of going for it, and. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You miss it? Okay, at least you tempted. You didn't even get a chance to win the game.
I agree with that. I didn't understand that whatsoever. But yeah, you mentioned Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard, man, people were trying to say this guy couldn't be a workhorse back. Well, he ran the ball 22 times on Sunday for 115 yards. This dude is looking like he is absolutely legit, and he may be taking over the majority of these reps from Ezekiel Elliott, regardless, when Zeke returns, regardless at this point, because this guy is looking like he's just too valuable to not put out there and not have out on that field. And he's just giving them a little bit more than Zeke's able to give right now at this point, and maybe Zeke's going to have to accept the role of being more the complement guy to Tony Pollard now. How do you see that playing out?
Well, I agree with you. I think he's going to be a starter. I think he'll get more carries. I don't necessarily think there's not a role for Elliott. What you could do is, if you want to think old school, you have your thumper back in Elliott, and you have your breakaway back in Tony Pollard. I think they'll phase out Elliott as the starter, but bring him in for short yardage, get a blow. But they paid him a lot of money. They paid him a ton of money. So, Jerry and Mike, they're not, because of money, they're not going to not start him. So I see, the carry is going 50-50 with, sometimes you can wear down a defense with Ezekiel Elliott. And then all of a sudden, Tony Pollard comes in, fresh legs, and boom, hits a home run. We'll see what happens going forward. I think he's a better all-around receiver than Elliott. I think that's where they really, really need to start to feature him, is in the receiving game as well. So I think this season you'll see kind of a split, but then next offseason you'll really have to make a decision on what you're going to do.
What's going on, Thomas, man? I know you still up there enjoying life after that Monday night game, man. We be talking about that in a few, bro.
Big move, stay on, because we got some things we got to talk about there.
Yeah, absolutely. But CD Lamb had his biggest game of the season. I'm pretty sure 11 catches, 150 yards on 15 targets. Now that's looking like a number one guy. That's a guy. That's what it's looking like they were expecting to get out of CD Lamb this season, man. And
I expect him to be number one guy. I don't know why people say he's not. There's a reason why they let Amari Cooper go. Okay, there's a reason why. Now I know they signed Antonio Galloway. They have Michael Gallup, who's coming back from a knee injury, so you're starting. You got to see. And they have Dalton Schultz, who also has had a solid game as well. You're going to start to see their weapons come in. See, 3 catches for 13 yards to Tony Pollard. That's unacceptable to me. I know you're feeding the rock to CD Lamb, but you get that guy more involved. You got to get that guy out in space and let him run. I mean, his average carry for Tony Pollard is 5.2 yards. I mean, that is crazy. That's crazy.
Lou, what you talking about, man? I ain't ignoring you, brother. I thought I said what's up to you. I'm sorry if I didn't, though. I apologize, brother.
No,
Shout
he
out
wants
to Lou, man.
We see Lou.
Inside Sports. Make sure y'all sub up to G Nation Inside Sports too, doing big things over there on his channel, man. Representing them New York Giants and he do all that great boxing content, that leather to the face, man. The UFC stuff, man. Lou be doing some work, man, over there.
He is definitely a mover and shaker.
But this Dallas team, like I said, I was expecting more from this defense, a lot more from this defense, to be quite frank. And I think the defense is what let them down the most in this game, to be quite honest, man. I think they did do it. I think they did enough offensively. They obviously scored enough points that they should have been able to handle and beat the Packers, especially based on how the Packers been playing this season. I think the defense really let them down. Aaron Rodgers, like you said, he stepped up and played a more Aaron Rodgers-like game.
Obviously,
a lot more efficient. He had a couple receiver step-ins, like you said, Christian Watson making some big plays for him. So, yeah, I think this is a bad loss for the Cowboys overall, and they need to and they need to They need to figure something out. They need to figure out what they're going to do, and that brings me to a question I wanted to ask. You think, because I know we've been talking a lot about Odell Beckham and this stuff that's going on with Odell Beckham, and he's down to like 4 teams he has on his list of potential teams that he'll go sign with. Honestly, speaking as a Giants fan, I don't think it's happening here. As much as it would, I think this team could use an explosive playmaker out there in the receiver spot. I don't know. I just feel like it's not going to end up working out from everything with the financials and everything else. I'm not sure. I'm just not really sure. And I think the Cowboys would be more willing to go all in, push their chips in the middle of the table, and try to, really lock Odell Beckham down. Do you think that's what the Cowboys potentially would need to get them over the top?
Well, Odell Beckham does give them another dimension to their already dynamic offense. And I think I don't know what to think, because, you bring him to New York. If he goes to New York, he's going to be the best receiver they have. But I don't know if that elevates their offense to new heights. I think bringing Odell Beckham changes the game for them, because their playmakers now will have, more space to operate. Right, they'll have Dalton Schultz, who won't get double teamed, and then you have CD Lamb, and you even have Gallup. Right, I think bringing Odell Beckham really helps Michael Gallup. He's a guy that could be opened up, but we'll see what happens. Again, it's finances, and we'll see where it goes. I don't really know what's happening. I feel like Odell's a drama queen, so on Twitter's blowing up. I'm like, okay, great. So we got rid of one distraction in Kadarius Toney. Now we're going to bring in another distraction in Odell Beckham Jr. Like, I don't know. But for the Cowboys, I think it makes sense, because they're desperate, right? They're a desperate team right now, which is always dangerous. I don't think they're down and out. I actually, believe it or not, think they're going to meet Minnesota on Sunday for some reason. I don't know why. That's what the Cowboys do. They tend to bounce back after losses like this. So we'll see what happens. But if it's anything, I think it will probably be to the Cowboys, unfortunately, and I just think it would be elevate their offense to a level that would probably not make them Super Bowl contenders, but really open up the offense so Dak can operate a little differently.
Yeah, I'm just not sure. I feel like right now the Cowboys are that kind of team that'll just make every move they possibly can. Because right now, we know what the Eagles are. The Eagles, and we're going to talk about them in a few, but the Cowboys got to figure out a way to catch up with the Eagles. Speaking of the Eagles, as they had another big signing today earlier, as they signed Linval Joseph. He's not necessarily the same player he once was.
They got every stuff. Robert Quinn, Linval Joseph.
A lot more seasoned now, but he's still Linval Joseph, and the kind of things he's capable of, and they obviously got him for a reason, because the Washington Commanders. You know what? You ready to go into that game? You ready to just go there?
Sure.
Let's do it. Let's go there. Let's go to Monday Night Football, because we know what happened. The Washington Commanders exploited the Eagles' biggest weakness. I've been saying it for weeks. I've been saying it bad in there all season. The Eagles, as good as they are, their one glaring weakness has been that run defense. Teams have the ability to run the football against the Philadelphia Eagles for whatever reason, and mostly especially with Jordan Davis being injured and not out there. So I'm thinking that they signed Linval Joseph to try to shore up that run defense after getting absolutely torched on Monday Night Football in the run game by a team that has not committed to the run all season. That's why I didn't think they were going to be smart enough to go in there and actually do what they needed to do to have a chance against the Eagles. But they fooled me. They fooled me. They fooled me. They went in there and put up a 152-yard effort against this Philadelphia Eagle defense on the ground, led by Brian Robinson with 26 carries for 86 tough yards, man. That kid was running hard and carrying people. And he was just, I mean, everybody was running hard on that team that on Monday night. They never wavered. They never went away from it. They clearly went in there with a game plan. They said, this is what we're going to do to this football team. We are going to run the football. We're going to run the football. We are going to continue to run the football. And that's what they did. And they gave him a big dose of it. It was a heavy dose of the run. 49 carries. 49 carries. I'm pretty sure Washington has not ran the ball 49 that many times all season, because watching their games, that's what I've been looking for, what this team is trying to do. They didn't seem to have much of an offensive identity, and they went in there with a clear-cut game plan, and they executed it on Monday night. Absolutely did. And it might have showed a little sign of weakness for the Eagles, but they're still sitting at 8-1. Still the best record in the league, and I know a lot of Eagle fans was jumping up. You would think the world was coming to an end or something. Adam, I'm right around here around these cats, around them in an abundance. You know what I mean? So I deal with Eagle fans daily, like multiple Eagle fans daily. You would have thought the world was coming to an end. You lost one damn game. You're 8-1. Calm down. Okay, you're still going to be in the playoffs. You're still favored to win this division. Give me a break. Okay, like that one win had these guys looking like as if they were acting like as if, oh my God, referees cheating us and this and that. And I'm like, come on, man. Look.
It's interesting to see. Remember, we talked about Tyler Henneke getting inserted into the lineup, right? I said maybe that, and I don't want to toot my own horn, but I was on here and I said, watch him have the impact on this team to kind of give them a spark. And lo and behold, here we are. Not only has he given them a spark, but he's pulled them back into not only a playoff race, but possibly the division race. Now, I'm not saying they're going to win the division because they're already 5 losses, but at 5, the Giant fans who said, "Oh, we're going to run this team over," let's be real. This ain't going to be easy. And know that they have some life, because these type of games are the type of games and seasons that give teams life. That give teams like, hey, we played Minnesota pretty well, and now we just beat the Eagles, right? We can hang with anybody. So that's going to give them a little juice. So Tyler Henneke, you giving them juice. Carson Wentz, I guess you'll be holding a clipboard for the rest of the season, because if I'm Ron Rivera,
I was just getting ready to say that.
If I'm Ron Rivera, I am not going to put my coaching career on the line right now for Carson Wentz. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to do it. If the guy has a colossal meltdown, right? Let's say, what's up, hit squad? Let's say for some reason, Tyler Henneke, blows it, whatever, fine. Then you can insert him. But at this juncture, right now, after a double-digit victory over the Philadelphia Eagles, you'd be dumb to start Carson Wentz again.
The only thing that could possibly get Carson Wentz back on the field at this point is, like you said, an injury to Taylor Heineke, where if you maybe still have a chance in this season, you'll just go back to Carson Wentz because you feel like he gives you a better chance than the rookie Sam Howell.
Right.
Other than that, yeah, I agree 1,000%. There's no reason that the Washington Commanders should be putting Carson Wentz back on that field. Taylor Heineke, for whatever it is giving this team a spark. Like they're coming in, they went out, like I say, this game had a far more balanced attack than they have all season long. And, I mean, because like I said, they ran the ball 49 times, but they also threw the ball 29 times. So it's not like he wasn't dropping back and throwing passes either. And he had a pretty solid, nothing special, but 17 for 29, 211 yards for Taylor Heineke. He did have the one interception, which ended up not hurting him too bad. But at the same time, yeah, he's playing solid. And what he's doing that Carson Wentz wasn't doing, and I'm saying thank you because for my fantasy to the fantasy gods, because Terry McLaurin is on my fantasy team and has been a little disappointing most of the season, is he's throwing the ball to Terry McLaurin. He knows how good number 17 is, and he's getting the ball to him down the field, and it's opening up the offense completely. So this Washington football team has completely transformed since Taylor Heineke has taken over the helm, man. And as far as all and everybody talking about this game with the Eagles and the Eagles Commanders game, and it's cheating, and they're saying the Commanders was cheating, the referees was cheating. Give me a break. You get bad calls in every game, every single game. You get bad calls. Yes, it was an egregious face mask that should have been called, but look, shit happens. Referees miss calls in every single game. It ain't just Eagles. You're not victims of that. You're not single victims of that. That happens in every game. It just does. Get over it. You lost one game. You'll be all right. You're still a talented football team. You still almost won this football game, even with that. That's not the reason you lost the game. That Quez Watkins fumble broke y'all back. Broke the Eagles back.
Yes. Well, that was the last time. That was the last time they were in the game, right? That was where all the momentum left. If he gets up and catches it and they tackle him, it's not a fumble. We might be talking about a different outcome to the football game, but we didn't. And ifs and buts or candies and nuts every day would be Christmas if that were the case. But that was a huge fumble at a time where the Eagles were trying to seize momentum. I think at that point the game was still close, still in the balance. And then after that, that's when the Commanders somehow took over. And let's talk about their defense for a minute for the Eagles, okay? This vaunted defense you were talking about, they didn't even get him in the pass rush, really. I didn't really see Heineke under siege the way that I thought it would be. With
Only that first possession. Only on that very first possession, they got that strip sack.
And then they got another sack in the game at some point, like later on in the game. They had like a 3-and-out once. But, like, I thought they would be coming in waves. Like, I didn't see any blitzing. They're sitting back playing zone. And don't get me wrong. They have some solid, skilled position players in the back end. So I get it. But, if I'm the what's the coach's name? Sirianni, I think his name is. I forget what his name is for the head coach. But
yeah, Nick Sirianni,
if I'm Sirianni, I sit down with the DC and I go, listen, bro, you got to come up with something. Other than that, we can't get beaten by Taylor Heineke, because we have another town up in New York who could play conservatively like that too. Like, it works against certain teams. This team didn't work. You got to come with the heat. They didn't even bring many blitzes. You're sitting there watching the game, and not that Heineke had a ton of time to throw. He moved around the pocket, made some plays, but I didn't see a green jersey really, or black jersey, whatever color they were wearing on Monday. I didn't see him really get close. And if I'm the Eagle fans right now, I'm not worried about the offense because Jalen Hurts is going off this season. He's having 2,200 yards, 14 touchdowns, 7 rushing touchdowns, 21 touchdowns in total. He's having an absolute year. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think part of the issue with the Eagles defense was the way Washington attacked them. Washington didn't come out. Nothing the Eagles have seen on the Washington Commanders this season could have prepared them for what they got offensively from the Washington Commanders this week. Like I said, the way Washington committed to that run game was unlike anything they've done all season. So like I said, the Eagles did not come out here in this game expecting the Washington Commanders to turn around and hand the ball off 49 times. You know what I mean? And do a 49 run plays. They didn't expect that. And there's no way you could have based off what you've seen from this Washington team this year. So I think that got the Eagles off balance. And it really threw a monkey wrench into whatever game plan they had. And they just didn't adjust. They just didn't do a good enough job adjusting to what Washington was doing to them. And it ended up costing them. I think that's kind of a lot that happened with their defense. I think they came out because they got that strip sack early on that first possession of the game. So they came out aggressive like normal. And then Washington started pounding that ball, pounding them with the rock with them, man. And then it was just like, oh, well, hold on, what's going on? The Eagles, they got to reset, figure out, and they just never did. And they got really weird.
They kind of just let Tyler Heineke kind of carve him up a bit. And to answer this question by Alex, Blue City Empire Sports, thank you for tuning in. Eagle fans are saying this was a good loss. Are they drunk? Let me address that. Actually, it's a loss that I think they needed. I think they need a little humble pie to come back. Now, I don't know. Whereas I'm not saying, you want to lose a game. What I'm saying is sometimes getting your tail kicked in kind of brings you back down to like, okay, we're not as good as we think. Maybe we need to fix things. Because remember, they played the Texans the week before, had the same issues, had 10 days to kind of come out. Because you're going to have to really put your ass to the fire and figure out what's going on. Because I don't necessarily think they're bad. I think they had a bad game, and let's see how they respond. The two teams we need to see who responds defensively are the Cowboys and are the Eagles, right? Because those two teams have been predicated on defense, and there's been times where their defense has been absolutely dominant. Jaguar game, Trevor Lawrence didn't know what side of the field he was on at half the time. There were so many players coming in. So I think they really got to reset, think this out. Linville Joseph is interesting. Even if he's a run plugger, maybe that helps him out, and maybe that helps them kind of slow down the run, because what they need to do is get teams in third and long to let their pass rushers out. But Hargraves was playing well. Fletcher Cox was playing well. So it's not like they weren't playing well. Just this game, it's not like the Commanders have the best offensive line either. I mean, let's be real. Their offensive line has been a patchwork at best. But they're winning. They do.
But here's the thing with the Eagles is, does this game, man, does it kind of – hey, what's going on, Alex, Big Blue in the Bronx? Shout out to Big Blue in the Bronx, man. Shout out to Big Blue in the Bronx, doing big things over on his channel as well.
Guys will be running WFN.
Him and his brother. But look, here's the thing about this. I lost my train of thought. The Eagles. Teams that have been able to run the football on them have had the most success with them, against them so far this season. Teams that have been able to really establish that, because even though Houston came up short and they still ultimately lost the game, obviously, for a while they were in that game for a good bit of it, and it's because they were running the ball down the Eagles' throat. And we can go all the way back to even week one when they played Detroit week one, right? And Detroit, yes. When Detroit was absolutely running the ball down their throat. Detroit, once again, also came up short, but very much in that game all the way to the end, running the ball down their throat. Is this going to be something that teams can look at and going forward when they face the Eagles and try to exploit this weakness of this Eagle football team? Because the Eagles got some good running backs they're about to be facing off against coming up in these next coming weeks. Some really, really good running backs. The Eagles will be facing off with. So I'm just curious, can teams look at what Washington did and say, we may not be able to do it exactly the same way, but that seems to be the way you got to be, because you run the football, you grind, you run the clock out, you run that clock down, and you keep that explosive offense off the field. That seems to be a recipe for success against the Philadelphia Eagles, man. And it's looking like Washington's the first one that was able to actually get the W. But like I said, other teams that have shown the ability to run the football on them also have had some success against them. Just haven't been able to get the W.
Let's see what they do if they adjust and try to make some adjustments going defensively to see that one. One is Linville Joseph. The other thing I want to say is that they remind me in the mid 90s, mid to late 90s, early 2000s, where that's what they would do, is they would just outscore you and then let Robert Mathis and Dwight Freeney run off the field and attack you. That's what the Eagles do, right? When they get you behind and you have to pass your way back into the game, the Commanders did not do. The Commanders did not weren't ever in trouble in terms of what they were doing. They weren't ever like, hey, when they didn't convert, right? The Eagles defense came up, but when they were in like second and short, third and short, it didn't allow the pass rushers to go. And I think, like you said, how did you stop that Colts team? By keeping Peyton Manning off the field. How are you stopping this Eagles team? By keeping their offense off the field. Let's see if the Philadelphia Eagles can figure out how to move forward knowing this. Because guess what? It's going to be a media talking point from now on, right? And because they lost after winning, it's going to be glorified. So this game coming up for them is huge on Sunday.
I absolutely agree, man. And Do you think the Washington Commanders can build some momentum, man, going forward the rest of the season? As you know, they're still sitting in fourth place in the division at 5-5, I believe they are, or
Yes,
four, or at
five and
five and
five. Yeah.
five. Yeah, 5-5 sitting there, and they still. But that's, I mean, there's still plenty of games, plenty of football left to be played, and they can still make a move if they can get on a run, man. You think they have what it takes to potentially turn things around?
I'm going to say they're going to play the role of spoiler in terms of like beating teams they unexpectedly to beat. Maybe their win total goes from 7 to maybe 8 games, but I don't think they're going to be. I think they'll carry the momentum and be a feisty out. Look what they did against Minnesota. They were in that game to the end, right? Look what they did against that game to the end, and it goes to show you the Colts, who won, are not going to be a pushover either. It's just any given Sunday in the NFL. This has been a weird year in the NFL, an absolute upside down year. Nothing that anybody predicted is coming true, except for the fact that, like, look at the Buffalo Bills. They're looking vulnerable right now. Nobody thought Miami was going to be as good as that, right? So there's a lot of stuff that's going down. But I do believe, if I'm a Commander fan and a Commander player, we have a pulse now. We have a pulse. Our season is not over, not by a long stretch. You don't think that they're going to be like, hey, we can beat the Giants? You know, we're not afraid of that team who has no receiving core and Daniel Jones is their quarterback. You don't think they're going to be scared of the Cowboys again, who just lost, saying, hey, listen, maybe we can put against them. And they play a couple more division games and a few other teams sprinkled in there. So who's to say they can't win 7-8 games and, you know, be that team that could cost a team, you know, like the Giants or like the Eagles, you know, down the road. Who knows? We have still, 7 games to play? It'll be fun. If I'm a Commander fan, I'm a lot happier now than I was a few weeks ago. And I'm begging Ron Rivera. If I'm the Commander fan, I'm driving and I'm protesting every day to keep Tyler Heinicke in the game until proven otherwise. Because I think if you take him out, you're going to ruin all the hard work that you built up, right? And to salvage any of this season, like, I don't know if Ron Rivera comes back, but if you look at him, right, and he goes to the new owners, because there's probably going to be a new ownership group at some point, because Dan Snyder's trying to sell the team, and he goes to them, he's like, look, my quarterback was terrible. My offensive line was terrible. I played with a backup quarterback and ended up being 4th in division and still won 8 games. I want to come back next year because I think with a quarterback or, you know, because, you know, they're going to be in the market for a quarterback too, right? And they could easily have tanked. This is another thing that we're talking about. They could easily tank for a quarterback, and they're not, which goes to show you they want to win, which goes to show you that they like to play. And you know, Mac, NFC East games, no matter what your record was over the years, have always been a struggle for any team. So,
Absolutely agree. That's why that goes right on what K. McDonald just said up here in chat. We forget this is the NFC East. Somewhere along the way, we forget how these teams play, man. That's why I love this division, man. And it's good to see good football getting played in this division again, man. Absolutely is. It's been a fun season so far. I think the good times is going to continue to roll, man.
I hear that.
And if they put, I can't. If they can't at this point. They just can't do that, man. They just can't put Wentz back in the game at this point, man.
I don't know, man. I think there'd be a mutiny amongst the fan base. I think Ron Rivera would have to worry about getting like batteries or something thrown at him because, you know, like unlike Cooper Rush, the difference between this and Cooper Rush was we knew Cooper Rush was, you know, holding it down for a better player. You know, it wasn't like Dak had one bad game and he was keeping the seat warm for a player that was good. Carson Wentz has played terribly. You know?
Yeah.
They played terribly. And so
team can vouch to that.
and so this guy comes in and Terry McLaurin has a pulse all of a sudden. This guy comes in and Jahan Dotson, who didn't play much playmaker, comes in and Logan Thomas is getting the ball. Brian Robinson is playing hard. It seems like the team is rallying around Tyler Heinicke more so than they are with Carson Wentz. And that's just an outside observer's opinion. I could be wrong. You know, Cade McDonald, I think you're a Washington fan. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I'm seeing. And for me, Riverboat Ron is pretty superstitious. I don't think he's going to be like to Carson, well, you know what? I'm going to put you back in. You've played lights out. Like if it was a different situation, Carson Wentz was playing lights out and they lost because, last second field goal, fumbles, things of that nature. Different story. Carson Wentz has done nothing.
No, absolutely not. And since we're still here on Washington, we might as well stay right here in Washington and go with their next game coming up, man. They got a familiar team we just played ourselves, the Houston Texans.
Man.
They're going down to Houston to visit the Texans. And Texans are just like the New York Giants are not the most conventional 7-2 football team. The Houston Texans are not your average 1-7 football team, 1-7-1 football team either.
They suck.
This team competes though. They compete, Adam. You cannot deny that they compete. They have been blown out by no one. They just keep coming up on the short end of the stick. This team makes you have to work for it. They make you have to earn it. So it's not just a walk in the park when you got to play the Houston Texans. Just because their record does not indicate how bad what they actually are. They're better than the 1-7 record that they have, I believe. They play better than that.
So do you think they play? Do you think they were in the game with the Giants?
Well, I mean, they were in it. Yeah.
Dominating effort?
It wasn't a dominating effort by no means. I mean, Giants had to lead the whole game. I get that, but they got back in. They got put themselves in position a couple of times in that game to make things happen, and the Giants stepped up and did what they had to do and clamped down on them. And that's kind of been the story with Houston. I mean, Dameon Pierce had a solid game again. Had a solid game against the Giants. He had a great game against the Eagles. They're just coming up. I think this team was another offseason or two away from being a legitimate good football team going forward. I mean, they go out there and compete. So Washington is not going to just go have a little walk in the park here against the Houston Texans. I'm sorry. I know their record might look like they say they suck, but they're not just your normal 1-7 team. Like, I don't think they're necessarily even truly the worst team in the league, to be honest, even though their record says they are.
Bill Parcells says you are what your record says you are. They're 1-6.
You're right. He does. You're right. He does. I can't go off of that.
And if I am the Washington Commanders, I got to look at this team and say they're 1-7. We should be 1-6 and 1 should be 1-7. Whatever they are, they're a terrible team. We got to beat them. Their quarterback's not playing well. Okay, they have a lot of young, inexperienced team. We got to go out there and legitimize our win against the Eagles, because if you do all that work to play the Vikings hard, to play the Eagles and beat them in their building, right? In the Link or wherever the hell they play nowadays in Philadelphia.
Thank you.
You can't Houston and then go and be like, oh, well, they're one. No, this is a team you should beat. And Mac, I want to agree with you that they're competitive, but they're an NFL team. They're not Appalachia State. So yes, they're going to have some playmakers out there that do things to help them win football games. And will they sleep on them? No, I don't think they will sleep on this team. But do I think the Texans are going to do what the Texans do best? Make mistakes, turn the ball over and do those type of things? Yes. So I think the Washington defense is going to step up a little bit. I believe a game like the Eagles is a confidence booster where they're going to go down there and they're going to say, listen, we need to get our 6th win here. We need to win these games because the Washington has a shot to win some of these games, right? I don't know. Let me check their schedule. But they have Houston this week. They play Atlanta. Okay. They play Atlanta the weekend of Thanksgiving. Okay. So that's right there. They could easily win a couple games. And then they play the Giants the following week. So if they come into that game at 7-4 or 6-6, against the Giants, and they could easily be 7-4 because the Falcons aren't that great. We're talking about a different game. And they play the Giants after they play the 49ers. So they can play the Giants at home, lose to the 49ers, and then play the Giants again. And that team could have eight wins, and then they play the Browns and the Cowboys to finish it out. There's no saying that this team can't win 8 or 9 games out of their remaining schedule. So for me, it starts this week for the Washington Commanders. You beat Houston, and then you go into Atlanta with 6 wins. And let's say Atlanta, I don't know who Atlanta's playing. Well, let's say the Falcons lose. Let's say the Falcons have some trouble. They play the Bears on Sunday, right? And then the Commanders, right? So they could win. I mean, the Bear. Who knows what the Bears? But say the Falcons slip up on the Bears, right? Now they're 4-6. You're now 6-4. That's their game. You need to go out there and win, and beat, and pose your will on, and get to 7-4. And then that Giant game becomes a battle of teams who have, the Giants could be 8-3, the Giants could be 9-2. It's going to be a big game. So if they win on Sunday, it's going to turn everything around. And if I'm the Commanders, I got to go in and win this game.
Well, you know me, I like to do the little devil's advocate thing, and I'm gonna think. I honestly believe this is this is not being.
It's all the Mad Elf. It's all the Mad Elf he's drinking, folks. That's what it is.
This is just me, or my honest opinion of this Washington football team and things we've seen from them this year. Coming off a big, huge, emotional win on Monday Night Football against division rival the Eagles in Philly. Short week. Going down to play a 1-7-1. 1-7-1. Yeah, that's their record. 1-7-1 football team in the Houston Texans in their home stadium. A team that their record says 1-7-1, but like I just mentioned, this team plays a lot harder than a 1-7-1 football, than a 1-7. You would expect a 1-7-1 football team to play. And beat the Washington Commanders on the short week.
Wow.
And get that W against the Washington Commanders on their home field. I absolutely see that happening because that's just the way this season's been, man. I don't even know any other way to put it other than I don't even have any other real sound logic other than that's the way this season has been. It's been like that.
Wow.
And this Houston Texans team, the way they play, they're bound to beat someone again. They're not just going to finish this season with just the one win. I just don't see it happening. Not the way they go out there and compete every week. They're going to beat somebody else, and I think it's going to be this Washington Commanders team on Sunday, man. I really believe that.
Like I said, folks, he's drinking the Mad Elf. I saw him in Wegmans the other day, and so the Mad Elf may be going to his head a little bit because I am not picking Houston to win damn near anything. And if we come back on here on Wednesday of next week, which, by the way, Wednesday of next week's show will be starting at a special time of 3:30. But we'll let you know. We'll nail down the details next week due to the holiday season coming up. But if the Washington Commanders, I agree with what you're saying. Someone said trap game. I don't think it's a trap game. The reason I think this game is a trap game because the Giants play a lowly Detroit team and then go to the Cowboys. They play Atlanta after Atlanta after Houston. I don't think it's a trap game. I think they need to figure out how to beat this team. They played two teams pretty good back to back, right? Let's look at the Commanders so far. They played the Colts. They won them on a last second win there by a point. They lost to the Vikings by 3, which kind of gave them the confidence to say, hey, we can beat them. And by the way, they haven't lost a lot of games. The only blowout they've had recently was to the Eagles and to the Cowboys early on in the season. Outside of that, they've won by, a few points here, a few points there, or lost by a few points here, or a few points there. So I think they're going to beat Houston.
I mean, they should. I agree that they should beat Houston. I think this is that week. Washington has that letdown coming off. Like I said, sometimes you get those big wins. That was a huge victory. I'm sure you watched the game in the entirety. After they won that game, you would have thought they won the damn Super Bowl the way those guys was carrying on. I mean, again, it was a big win. It was a big win. But I just feel like sometimes after big wins,
I think you're giving the Houston Texans too much credit.
I don't think so, man. I've watched this. I've actually seen this team a lot more than for some reason this season, and I don't even really understand why. But I've seen a lot of Houston Texans football this season for some reason.
Because they play the NFC East a lot.
Oh, okay, that's probably exactly why. But they compete. They compete, man. They like they remind me of us because they obviously you look down their roster, you don't see the talent, and they just can't quite get over the hump. Where we are getting over the hump, we're finding ways to get the job done. If you look at the way their
Well,
roster is constructed.
I think they're going to go on a streak. I think they're going to go on a win streak here with Tyler Heineke. I think they, I get what you're saying with the emotional toll, but a win like this for me kind of, we're 4-6 or something like that, or 4 or 3 and whatever. I'd be like, all right, whatever. It's a fluky game. It doesn't really matter. But you have a chance to get back into the playoff race. If Ron Rivera doesn't figure out a way to get his team ready to play this game on Sunday, you might as well give him his pink slip if he loses against Houston. You might as well fire him there on the spot. I know I would. I'd be like, you beat the Eagles, then you come back and lose to this team.
But we've seen it before, man. We see things. I mean, like I said, the way this season has been, I don't know. It's hard to. I can't even call it the way this season has been, man. There's been so much weird things going on this year, man. Throughout this whole season, I mean, teams that are supposed to be good are bad. Teams that are supposed to be bad are good. It's just been a wacky season. It's been a fun season, man. I wouldn't be completely. I definitely wouldn't be shocked if the Houston Texans take care of Washington on Sunday, man. On their down, like I said, down there in Houston, on their home field, running right behind Dameon Pierce, man. I see Dameon Pierce having a huge game, and Washington just not being able to respond. I mean, I get it. Davis Mills has been a turnover machine. He's been playing he hasn't been playing good football, and he has been kind of holding that team back a little bit. But I'm sorry. I just think that this is a setup. This is a game right here where Washington coming off this big win on Monday night on a short week, having to fly down to Houston, it could literally go down there and get surprised, man, and take a L, man. I can see it happening, and I think it's gonna happen. But that's just my humblest of opinions.
That's the Matt Elf speaking, people. If he comes back on Wednesday and that team has lost, I will ask how many Matt Elves did you have on Sunday, because I'm not drinking that juice.
We're gonna move on to another team that we were just talking about here, the Philadelphia Eagles, and they are going down to Indianapolis to play the Colts. And we were just talking about, did Washington lay out a blueprint for what to do against the Eagles? They've inserted Matt Ryan back in their lineup.
If you tell me they're going to lose to the Colts, I'm walking off set.
I'm not sure if I'm going to go there, but I just believe this Philadelphia Eagle team. I mean, is there a blueprint laid out? And Jonathan Taylor, he had a big game on Sunday. He finally had a big game. Waiting for that all season too. My Mr. Number 2 overall draft pick from my fantasy league, Jonathan Taylor.
Sounds like you're having a terrible fantasy season.
It's been rough. It's been a little rough. A couple guys has been letting me down, and he's been one of the main culprits right here. Jonathan Taylor's been one of the top culprits, letting me down big time, royally. But yeah, he had a huge game on Sunday in their win. So, do you think they do try to duplicate a little bit of what Washington did and turn around and feed that man and see if the Eagles can stop him? Try to keep that Eagle offense off the field?
Well, I think the blueprint is that you need also receivers that can help you win the football game. Because I think what's going to happen is the Eagles are going to play the Colts and be like, all right, well, your quarterback, I have no idea who he is, right? So, let's be honest, I don't think he's the greatest guy. So I think what they're going to do is they're going to be obvious. They're going to try to stop Jonathan Taylor, and they're going to force this quarterback, who I have no idea, again, what his name is, to see if they can win. Now, if they win this game, then we'll say the Eagles have a problem. I think the Eagles handled this team pretty well, convincingly, after a loss that they desperately needed. Now, if you want to talk about a trap game, maybe Philadelphia had a trap game. Maybe they thought, oh, you know what, we're overlooking them because we're going to go beat this team. Who knows? Maybe they got a little high and mighty because you're 8-0 and you're playing a team that was desperate. I don't think they come out and lay an egg this week I think they come out and I don't think they'll shore things up, but I'm going to see the same performance. Jonathan Taylor may have 100 yards, but they're going to win the football game.
Well, if that comes true, Coles Cowboy, and the Colts do find a way to win this football game, after the meltdown Eagle fans had this week, after their first loss, I can only imagine what would happen next week if they lost to the Colts. But I don't see the upset happening this week. I think the Eagles do absolutely take all that frustration from this L out on the Indianapolis Colts.
All the NFC East teams play somebody, well, except for the Cowboys, are playing lame duck teams, right? You got Colts, Eagles, you got Commanders, Houston, you got Giants, Detroit. If these three teams do not come out with W's, then there's a full moon out.
But I think the Eagles are going to actually win this by double digits. Honestly, I think they're going to handle the Colts fairly easily. I think that pass rush is going to get to Matt Ryan, who is a lot more of a statue.
He's back in.
Heineke is in the pocket. Matt Ryan played on Sunday, brother. Yes, he did.
Really? Because I thought they were benching him.
No, they put Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan played on Sunday. He started and played the whole game on Sunday.
Oh well, that's news to me. Because, I guess that was Frank Wright at the one point. And Jeff Saturday's like, I ain't going down with you. I ain't going down with you, kid.
Well, yeah, Jeff. I guess Jeff Saturday made that call. But, yeah, Matt Ryan played on Sunday against the Raiders, 21 to 28, 222 yards and a touchdown pass. So, he played pretty damn well, too. And like I said, I talked about Jonathan Taylor. So
that's a different story then. If they had that backup quarterback that I thought who played against Washington, right? The guy that lost the Washington game was the backup quarterback. If they play that guy, they're definitely going to lose. Now, I'm not saying Matt Ryan is going to be a hell of a difference, but he might be able to do. He might be able to read a defense or a coverage differently, or change a play out of an audible more so. I know people say that he's washed, and I don't know if he's washed or if the offensive line not playing up to par. Again, it's one of those things where we'll find out.
Expected to have a much better offensive line, expected to have a much stronger run game than they have had. So that's kind of been probably some of Matt Ryan's issues too in this offense this year. But that's what I was saying. I think that's what I think is going to end up happening in this game. Matt Ryan is pretty much a statue at this point in his career, and he needs to be protected back there. And I don't think they're going to be able to hold up against the Eagles' pass rush, and that's ultimately what's going to cost them this football game, I believe. And like I said, I got the Eagles winning by double digits. I think, like I said, coming off a loss like that on their home field, I think they're taking all that frustration out on the Colts. I just can't imagine anything less.
Well, folks, I haven't been drinking the Mad Elf, so I'm definitely going to pick the Eagles in this game, and I hate picking the Eagles for anything. But, you fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, right? So I'm not getting on. I don't care. I think the Eagles come out and really want to make a statement after this game. And unlike what Max said about Washington, I think Philadelphia is going to really, really put a hurt on this Colts team.
I definitely agree with that. I think the Eagles win this going away, man. Not even a competitive football game. Not even a competitive game. So, I guess we can move on to the biggest matchup in the division this week. Within the division for the Dallas Cowboys going to Minnesota to take on the 8-1 Minnesota Vikings.
This is the game where I'm drinking the Mad Elf. This is the game where I'm drinking the Mad Elf.
And yet the Cowboys are 1.5-point favorites in Minnesota. Riddle me that.
Riddle me that, because I'm taking them. I'm taking the Cowboys to beat Minnesota. You heard it here first. Upset of the week is coming on Sunday. I don't, because the thing is this. I'd rather play the Cowboys off a win than an L. Because come Thanksgiving, if they lose 2 in a row, those boys are going to be ornery as a mother. And I'd rather have them win. And I just, something about games like this. You want to talk about an emotional game? How about an overtime game? Both teams played overtime game. Both teams played a team that, was scrappy. The Buffalo Bills are arguably the best team in football right now. Their record doesn't indicate that, but many people think that they are. And they beat them. and they beat them in a way where you're like, wow, Minnesota. Oh, there it is. He's drinking one right now. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I saw those. They're a little out of my price range right now. I saw them for like $16.99. I'm like, damn. You get yourself drunk off a couple of those and you're good to go. But I am drinking the Elf right now because Cowboys, for some reason, I never picked the Cowboys, are going to win this game on Sunday. Call me crazy, riddle me this, but I'm sure Mac is going to be wrong about the Commanders, and I'm going to be wrong about the Cowboys.
I mean, I just think it's obviously the Cowboys can go in there, and this seems like almost the setup perfect. The Cowboys lose to the Green Bay Packers, then you'll go to Minnesota and get a W. It could happen. I'm not so sure, man. Minnesota is just playing out of their mind right now.
They are legit
bro.
Super Bowl contenders.
They are playing out of their mind. Justin Jefferson, if it wasn't for a guy named Tyreek Hill doing crazy things down in Miami right now, it'd be no question that he'd be the best receiver in the league currently right now. But Justin Jefferson had that amazing catch on Sunday. He's just making plays all over the place, man. Kirk Cousins is playing with supreme confidence right now. Dalvin Cook is Dalvin Cook. I just don't know, man. If Dallas is going to have what it takes to go in there and get the job done in Minnesota but it is in a dome. That's the thing about Minnesota, man. Like if Minnesota's the advantage they could have if they played in an outdoor stadium would be insane this time of the year.
Oh my God,
now,
they did
man.
that one year, and I'm like, why would I want to go to that city in the middle of the winter, in the middle of November, cold as shit? Like they're going to be cool, calm, and collected. They play in a dome. It's going to be a fast track. It's going to, the Cowboys have some fast players, and they play in a dome as well, or I don't know what the Cowboys have, like a half roof or some shit, in Jerry's world up over there. But I don't know, man. This is the type of game the Cowboys seem to figure out. I can't explain why. I don't probably have any valid reasoning other than I probably bumped my head along the way somewhere, and I go with my gut on a lot of these things. That's why when you people tell me about Daniel Jones, it's not coming from a place of what I'm not seeing. I see that he's playing better, but my gut is telling me he's not the guy. My gut is telling me, and it could be wrong. It's been wrong here and there. It's not always perfect, but it could be leftover. For all I know, it could be leftover chicken parm that's not settling right. It could be whatever. Who knows? But I just feel like the Cowboys are. I don't know why I feel they're going to win, but Minnesota is going to have.
You think Minnesota has like a letdown here this week against the Cowboys? Because I mean, to me, I'm still not even understanding how the Cowboys are favored here. I just don't get it. On the road against an 8-1 football team that's playing very, very good football. I just don't see how he had the Cowboys favored in this situation. They know something we don't know. I don't know. Some little inside.
The problem I have right now is Mike McCarthy's an idiot. That's my problem. Okay, you kick a field goal, tie the game. Worst case scenario, you miss, and you give the ball to arguably your best unit on the field against arguably their worst unit, which was Green Bay, right? So those decisions are going to could come back to haunt you, and to have a 2-game. The thing is, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just me being a Giant fan, hoping that we don't play. Because remember, they lost 2 games and played the Giants and beat them up. I don't need them to lose another 2 games and come in on Thanksgiving and just whip us up because we're riding high off 2 victories off of some lowly ass teams. So I feel like the Cowboys are going to figure this one out. Come back, you're going to see them cooking, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the friggin' Minnesota Vikings come out looking like the purple people eaters and just blow the doors off the Cowboys.
I mean, this is going to be a
how is that?
This is probably going easily the game of the week. I feel like this is definitely one of the biggest matchups of the week. This makes the Cowboys Packers game. It puts so much more on that because that was a game the Cowboys really needed with the way this NFC East is set up right now. That was a game the Cowboys really couldn't afford to lose, especially coming into this matchup with Minnesota, which is a far better team than Green Bay this year. And I don't know, man. I'm just not so sure, man. I think Minnesota right now is in the zone. Saw what they did to Buffalo a couple weeks ago. What they did to Buffalo. I mean, this past Sunday, and what they've been just doing all season, man. The only team
They're
right now
still the
that's
second
having
seed. They're
any
still the
answer.
second seed.
Well,
They're
because
still
the
the
only
second
team that's
seed,
had
and
an
they need to
answer
win.
for him is the only team that's had an answer for him has been the 8-1 Philadelphia Eagles. That one L was week 2 against the Eagles, man. And that other than that, no one else has had an answer for the Minnesota Vikings. And I'm not so sure if the Cowboys will either. I mean, the one thing I can say about the Cowboys is they do have some they got playmakers, like you said, all over the place, and they got a guy on defense that at any point in time can change the damn game. And number 11, Micah Parsons. So and I mean, Diggs is people. I see people in the chat saying Diggs plays well against Justin Jefferson, and that may be the case. I'm not. I haven't really tracked that matchup very much these last couple of years, but I don't know, man. I'm just not sure, man. Justin Jefferson's in the zone right now. He's over 1,000 yards receiving on the season already, with so much more season to play, and he's just. This is just a really. There's a really good football team this year. I'm not sure at home they lose to the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys go in there and take another L back to back weeks against the NFC North, man. And I
Well,
just
Cole's Cowboys think they're going to beat him. He's not worried. Well, Cole, whatever makes you sleep easy at night. I'm drinking some Mad Elf here. That's why I'm a little delusional on picking the Cowboys. So we'll see what happens. But I'm not really confident they're going to beat him. I just think my gut is trying to tell. I'm trying to think of. I go like I told you. I go with a feeling. If the feeling tells me to
yeah.
bet on black, I bet on black and I lose. Well, then that's what I go with my feeling. My feeling is the Cowboys are going to win. So
Yeah, I'm not sure the status of Ezekiel Elliott if he's going to be back in the mix with the Cowboys, but I was going to say because we know, like I said, Tony Pollard. We talked about Tony Pollard earlier. He's definitely capable of carrying the load himself anyway. But if they can get Zeke back in the lineup, I think that's what they got to approach this game the way Washington approached this game on Monday night against the Eagles and give the Minnesota Vikings a strong dose of the run, keep that offense off the field, and just really. I think that's the Cowboys' best shot, but I don't think they're going to do it. I think Minnesota Vikings win a close one. I don't think it's going to be like any kind of blowout or anything crazy like that, but I think the Minnesota wins a close one here against the Cowboys on Sunday.
well, I think we've talked enough about them. You've heard our
Yeah,
thoughts.
he said Cowboys will win if Cousins starts coughing up the rock, but if they're smart, they'll ride Cook and Jefferson. Agree. Cole's Cowboys says Zeke may play. Well, that could only be a little. That could only help the Cowboys a little bit to
I
have
may
another
be.
guy out there.
I may win the lottery tomorrow. I mean, that means nothing.
But yeah, we definitely have talked enough about this, and we can get to the final game on the docket, and we all know what that is. The lowly Detroit Lions, the 3-6 Detroit Lions, come into MetLife Stadium to visit the 7-2 New York Football Giants. Must-win game for the New York Giants. Based off of what they have left remaining on their schedule, the next 4 games after this will be 4 consecutive division NFC East division games. Absolute must-win for the New York Giants. So you cannot go out there Sunday and lay an egg against the Detroit Lions. And I think this team will be ready to play, and I think this team will get the job done on Sunday against the Detroit Lions, man.
Well, if the game was in Detroit, I'd have a little bit more apprehension about the game, but the game's at home, and it seems like the Giants luck out with, these teams that if they were at home, it might be a different story. But we'll see. The Lions came off an emotional victory last week. I know they play hard. If you want to tell me about a team that plays hard, they play hard. Okay, they are better. They may be a little better than the record indicates. They may be, they should be a 4 or 5 win team as opposed to a 3-win team. But this team does score points, and that's one of the things that is points against some good teams, not some slouches. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited for the game. Again, this is a game the Giants need to win. You're at 7-2 now. There's no more excuses. There's no like, hey, you're 5-4, whatever can happen. No, you're 7-2. Hell, the Giant fan base is thinking they're going to the Super Bowl right now. That we're a Super Bowl dark. If you want me to believe that we're anything but that, then win this game on Sunday. And it should not be close. But knowing the Giants' history, knowing how they do things, it'll be one of those nail biters till the end. I will tell you this: turnovers are the great equalizer in the game. Let's hope Hutchinson's been playing pretty good. Let's hope he doesn't come around and strip sack Daniel Jones, who has had a couple strip sack fumbles this season. Thankfully, they haven't gone to the other team. I think he has three, or at least I think he has at least 4 fumbles, but I think 3 of them have been strip sacks, but have landed with the team. So let's hope that they don't run around too much against. I don't know if Evan Neal's playing. I know he's practicing. That doesn't guarantee him playing on Sunday. If anything, this is maybe a game you want to rest him. Well, rest him this week. Rest him this week, and then see what happens against the Cowboys on Thursday night, short week.
Well, I think it's probably best to rest Evan Neal this week, one more week, just because we're going to be going into a short week. We play the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. I don't think if he's not 100%, I don't know if you want to play him on a Sunday and then knowing he's got to need him back on the field again on Thursday. So I feel like if he's not quite 100%, probably just go ahead and set one more game out and get him ready for the Cowboy game. Because we're going to need him out there against the Cowboys. We know he had a rough game week 3 against the Cowboys, but I don't foresee that happening again. Not a game like of that that level. I think there's no way DeMarcus Lawrence is just running around that corner 3 for 3 sacks at the expense of Evan Neal again. I don't see that happening again. So I would myself personally would just get him ready for the Cowboy game on Thanksgiving, where we're going to need him, I think, far more. I mean, as far as this Detroit game, this just Detroit team. This is a team. See, I disagree slightly again because, like, when you say they play hard sometimes. This team has been blown out a few times this season. This team has been blown out the building a few times this season, and they can score points, but defensively they're inconsistent. And they're inconsistent, period. I mean, sometimes they don't know if they want to commit to the run, which they should because they run the ball pretty well when they do commit to the run. Jamal Williams leads the league in touchdowns. And the other end, forgot the other dude's name already, the main running back. Swift. DeAndre, whatever his name is, Swift. That guy, he's an explosive, he's a home run hitter. So that can be Giants who have struggled with the run defense they're gonna have to watch out for that 1-2 punch at the running back. Jared Goff, people like to make fun of Jared Goff.
He's better than David Mills.
But yeah, Jared Goff is definitely better than Davis Mills. Jared Goff is a quarterback that's played in the
He's
Super
like
Bowl.
Daniel Jones.
He's got that kind of experience where he's played in the Super Bowl, you know what I mean? And he knows what it takes to win football games. He's not as bad as people try to make it seem. So I think the Giants do have to go out there and be prepared, mentally ready for this game. Can't go out there like we're just playing some 3-16. We're gonna go out there and run them over. But I don't think the Giants take that approach with anybody anyway, because I think the Giants, these coaches keep this team very aware of who they are. And you can't take anybody lightly because we're not good enough to take anybody lightly, even though we're 7-2. We know the deficiencies with this roster, and we're still dealing with some big injuries. We still don't got a lot of guys missing out the lineup. I mean, one thing I can say, we're getting some offensive linemen back into the mix, which is a good thing, and I do appreciate that because it's giving us more diversity on that O-line. See some more different things. I don't think we're going to necessarily see 35 carries from Saquon Barkley every week. That's probably not going to happen either, but I think we do got to continue to just, jump on his back and let him carry us to the promised land, because he's by far our best player, man, on this football team, and that's how we're going to win football games is on the legs of Saquon Barkley, man. And as long as they don't divert from that game plan, don't get cute. You got cute in Seattle, and you got beat up for it. Don't get cute. You got to do what this team does best. We run the football with our running back, with our top running back, leading rusher in the league. Saquon Barkley and our quarterback make some plays with his legs and can make some plays with his legs, and that's going to have to happen because this Detroit pass rush is not bad. Like you said, Aiden Hutchinson is having a pretty good rookie season, man. He hasn't been lighting it up with the sacks, but at the same time, he's showing some good ability, making some big plays. He made a great play in the game on Sunday at one point where he just kind of came all the way down the line, and just stuffed the running play, man. So, hey,
he has 5.5 sacks
this Detroit team is
on the year. So
yeah, he had
so he can get to the quarterback a little bit.
He had 3 in one game though. So
okay, but I mean,
I'm
Kate
just saying,
has 1 in 8 games.
I'm just saying. But when you say he like that, he's getting some. He had three of those sacks came in one game. It was like week 2 or something like that. Week 2 or 3, whoever they played against, he had like 3 sacks in that game. It was a huge game for him. But I'm not trying to shit on this 5.5. I'm just
Max always just shitting on players.
I'm just putting in the perspective that he did have 3.
He did that. Those doesn't count, man. He had 3 sacks in one game, man.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want you.
Those touchdowns don't count. He had 4 in one game, bro.
I'm just saying that's just the reality. That it's not like he's been like consistently week in and week out piling up sacks.
No, he's not a sack leader for that. That's for sure. No,
like other guys have been doing. Some other guys have been doing. But I think the Giants take care of this because I think this coaching staff gets this team ready for games like this specifically. Let them know and keeps them in the perspective that you gotta take these guys seriously and go out there and get the job done and don't take anything for granted. And I think the Giants will not. And I always want to say this is the game where we're going to get that explosion and we're going to get that big 14-point win or something like that. But you know what? At this point, it don't look like that's happening. It don't look like that's going to happen with the New York Giants, man. So I'll take the close, ugly ones all day as long as they still keep being wins, man. That's all that matters to me ultimately in the end. I don't care how many points we win by, whether we win by 1 or whether we win by 20, man. A W is a W is a W. So as long as we keep getting them W's, man, that's all that matters. And I do. That's why I agree. I think that if he's gonna be lined up over top of Andrew Thomas Hutchinson, he's gonna have a long day.
Well, this is popular opinions comment before. This would be a trap game. Because you have a big game coming up on Thursday that you're also cramming for this week as well. Don't get it twisted. They are cramming for that game right now. So, the focus has got to be there because they're emphasizing that the Cowboy game is big. So let's hope that this team can remain focused because sometimes is where they play, Daniel Jones. I'm not trying to say he will, but let's say he has a sack fumble that goes for a touchdown. Or something that normally hasn't happened happens, So let's just hope that doesn't happen. I think they should win this game. Again, we should be 8-2 after this. If we're 7-3 after this, it's going to be a long, long remaining 6 games.
What's going on, Joel, man? Good to see you, man. How you doing today, man? Shout out to Joel, Classified Joel, man. Sub up to Joel, man. Doing this thing, man, every week, man, every damn night, Joe, we putting in that work, man. So make sure I take care of Joe. Sub up to him if you haven't already. Doing good things on his channel, man. Representing that big blue crew, man. But, yeah, I think the Giants do win this football game. Like I said, I just think we're a flat-out better football team, and we're going to get the job done. Like I said, and it might not be pretty, but I think 8-2 is on its way, man, coming on Sunday, man. I really believe that wholeheartedly. And I think the Giants have a way of getting ready for games like this, man. And I think this coaching staff puts us in the position and puts us over the top. Just figuring out the right game plans to come out and attack teams with, man, and especially teams like this. I think they know exactly what they got to do. They got. I mean, we're talking about the running backs a little bit. They got a couple playmakers on the outside too. Amon-Ra St. Brown, man, that guy's a problem. He can take the top off of a defense, big time, and he's physical. He's a lot more physical than you look at him and think he would be. He's definitely better than his brother that plays for the Bears. That's for damn sure. And so he's going to be one to have to watch out for too. We have to really be careful with that guy. And Marvin Jones he can make plays too, man. He's not the most consistent guy, but he can make plays. So Giants are going to have to
Is
watch out
Marvin
for that.
Jones on their team? He's not on their team. Marvin Jones is on.
Oh, he's
I
on the
think.
Jaguars now.
Yeah.
I think he's on the Jaguars now. You're right. I'm tripping. But they got somebody else out there. They got some other receiver out there. They got LaVisca Chenault. That's who they got, I think. They got somebody. They got somebody else out there.
They have Khalif Raymond, Tommy
Uh,
Kennedy. I mean, the thing is this: it's just that it's just like Jared Goff is competent, and I don't going to see. He'll put the ball in harm's way, but I don't know if he's gonna what he's gonna do.
well, here's the thing with Jared Goff. He doesn't respond well to pressure at all. So once you get pressure going on him and can force him to make mistakes, that's pretty much the end of the night. That's it. That's lights out for Jared Goff. But that's what we got to be able to do. You know what I mean? We got to make
we
sure
don't
we
always
get that
pressure the
constant
quarterback
pressure on.
well.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying is we got to be able to show the ability to do that because that's a big key. Because like you said, Jared Goff, if you let him give him time to stand back there and scan the field, he's got a couple playmakers and he's going to find those guys. He's been showing that ability this year. Detroit has shown an ability to put up big points in some of these games this year that they played. So, and they've gone toe to toe with some good competition in this league. Like I mentioned earlier about them when they played the Eagles Week 1, they had that ability. So we do got to worry about it. Like I said, I already talking about Swift too, man. Yeah, Swift is definitely a problem. And and they get down in that red zone. Jamal Williams has shown an uncanny ability to put that ball in the end zone. So it's gonna be a fun one, man. I don't see, like I said, I don't foresee a blowout, but I see the Giants winning pretty much the way they've been winning all season. Another tough, pretty close game, but I think the Giants are just better and they're gonna win the football game. But since we're talking about the Giants right now, you think we're sitting at 7-2, still not truly getting the respect a 7-2 team commands. So, do you think that it's time for everybody to start taking this New York Giant team seriously, or are we still should be, or are we just really the frauds that they think we are?
Well, the fans can take him seriously, that's for sure. It'll depend on these next 6 games, how they respond, because the people don't believe in the Giants, and they have no reason to. The Giants haven't done anything, and their roster kind of has a lot of holes in it. We've been playing. Someone said we've been playing like one possession games or something like that. We've been playing wire to wire football, and that's hard to sustain over a long period of time, even though it's 17 weeks. So I don't think this game is going to prove anything to the team because, again, if the Giants grind it out, people are going to look at, well, you played the Detroit Lions and you only scored 27 points, bro. You couldn't score 48 like the Eagles and all these other teams did. So that's probably where the disrespect comes from, is because the points are hard to come by with the Giants. So we'll see what happens. 7-2 team. Do I think we're a Super Bowl contender? Not at all. But you never know what happens, when you get into the dance. I think we're a good team. I don't think we stack up very well we're 500 against winning teams. We're one missed field goal away from and an illegal procedure penalty away from being 0-4 in those games against 500 or better ball clubs. So we really we'll really find out this week if we are contenders or pretenders. Next week, if we're contenders or pretenders.
Well, right now, while we sitting at 7-2, we are very much contenders. We are very much in the mix. Like I said, there are only 2 football teams in the league that have a better record than the New York Giants right now. Only 2. And ain't none of them teams called the Buffalo Bills. Yes, we have a better record than the Buffalo Bills. And I'm not by no means saying we're better than the Buffalo Bills. But we have a better record than the Buffalo Bills. You know what I mean? A team that's looked at as a surefire powerhouse in the AFC, probably good chance of going to the Super Bowl. We got a better record than them. We have the same.
You think they'd be 9-0 in the
same record. We have. I'm not sure. I can't say that because they lost to the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday, so I can't say that. They lost to the New York Jets, who's playing good football this year as well. But let's face it, nobody really expected them to lose to the New York Jets. They lost. Who else? And who else did they lose to? The Miami Dolphins, Austin Dolphins, who is a very good football team this year. But
Listen,
my my
you're a
thing
Giant
is
fan. You're right to have that.
my thing is we're sitting with the same record as the Kansas City Chiefs. No one's questioning the 7-2 Kansas City Chiefs. No one's questioning them. Same record. Their record is
I
the
think,
same as ours.
and I think the reason why is because they've been there, they've done that, and their team is
Yeah,
legitimately got players all over the place. They believe we're doing it with smoke and mirrors, which is the
that's what
coaching
they
staff
believe.
has done a very good job. But if you're a fan of the team like we are, yeah, hell yeah, you should be happy. You should be proud of this team, and you should be excited going down the stretch. Don't me? Sometimes I'm a realist. Sometimes that gets me in trouble with this fan base. Apparently, you can't talk about us. I mean, Daniel Jones. You can't talk about. I mean, I think the argument with Daniel Jones is one that kind of polarizes the fan base, and I don't think the argument is whether or not they're going to keep him. The question is whether or not they're going to draft a quarterback to replace him at some point. And I think the answer is yes on that. So, right now we're playing good football. Enjoy it. Because you never know what happens. You really don't know. The 49ers kept their season alive. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they just kept their season alive. So we'll see what happens down, like I said, down these remaining 7 games. We'll really find out what kind of team we are. And unfortunately, injuries might happen. So let's hope we can stay healthy. That's the main
I
thing I want to
mean,
happen in this game. Stay healthy.
I think we know what kind of team we are, though, and I think as long as we don't swerve from that, we just got to we know what works. We figured out what works with this team. We figured out how to win football games with the team that we have, with the guys we're putting on the field, and as long as we don't swerve from that, I think we can still can maintain success. And like I said, it's not conventional. It's absolutely an unconventional way of going
Well,
about things. But I believe that it's shown this year to be a formula that works for the New York Giants by running that
right. And
football, controlling that clock, and the defense. It's I wouldn't say the defense is playing super lights out, but they make plays when it matters the most, and they've been
right.
doing that all
And
season long. They
they're like
make
the
plays when
Tennessee
it
Titans
matters the most.
of the NFC. They play the same kind of game, right? They run the football, predominantly heavy, play solid defense, and make minimal mistakes, right? And try to take chances when they can take chances. So, you are what your record says you are, as unpopular opinion says, and let's just enjoy the ride and see where it takes us. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that, man. Like this is an exciting time. Like I said, this week coming up must win against Detroit because, like I said, after Detroit we got Dallas, Washington. I mean Dallas, yeah, Dallas, Washington, Philly, and then Washington again. Straight 4 straight
And then
weeks.
Minnesota and the Colts in there, and the Eagles for
Well,
again. So like,
it's no secret. We have the hardest schedule left out of for the remaining of the season. The New York Giants have the hardest remaining schedule left on the season.
and
So
that's where,
let's see.
and this is where we just got to earn our money. So this is a game we got to earn our money at. And I don't really have much more on this game. Just win, baby, as Al Davis likes to say. Just win, baby.
Absolutely, man. I mean, we can get ready. We can all get ready to close this thing out, man. But if you got any more final thoughts and just in general, you want to about the division, about the team, any whatever.
Well, I don't really have. I just think the two best divisions of football are the AFC East and the NFC East, and it's kind of interesting to see how both those uh, divisions had teams that we didn't think were going to do well, and here they are. Their bottom team, the Patriots, can beat anybody. Our bottom team, the Commanders, is just starting to find their groove. So it's going to be interesting to watch these next few games and see where our identity lies. The one thing I will say is, let's not get injured, please. Let's not get injured.
Yeah, it's funny how the AFC East and the NFC East are exactly what people expected the AFC West to be.
Right.
It's funny
Exactly. Yeah.
how that played out. That's a whole nother thing, man. We say that for a whole nother show. That AFC West, that's going to be something to talk about in
Yes.
future podcasts of whatever later on going forward, because that's been a disappointment, a major disappointment this season. Expected way better football out of that division, and it's just been trash other than the Kansas City Chiefs. So I agree. What he did, I agree 1,000%. I'm hoping it comes down to that, and if it comes down to that, I'm getting tickets one way or another to that game. If it comes down to that game being for the division title, one way or another, Mac the Giants fan is gonna find a way to be in that building, one way or another.
Well,
So
good for you, man.
freezing my ass off in Philly with those ignorant ass Eagle fans. Yes, I'm gonna find a way. But yeah, absolutely though. I just like I said, excited for this season, man. To continue this season and continue this path, man. Like the Giants are playing great football. Like you said, Washington Commanders are not out of it at where it looked like they were getting ready to just be. You know what I mean?
Pack it up.
Man, well, you thought they were just done for. They found a way to turn their season around. The Cowboys, they are the Cowboys. They're still a very talented football team and very much in the mix, and they do have a W on us already. So that's definitely helps them out, even though we're a game ahead of them right now based off of our record. Eagles, I still believe the Eagles. To me, the Eagles are still the best team in the NFL. My personal opinion, and it's hard to say that, like I said, with a straight face, but it's just the way I honestly feel. Even though they lost that game on Monday night, I believe they're still better.
I believe those words came out of your mouth.
I believe that. I just believe they're the best team in football right now, still, until somebody truly proves otherwise. Losing the divisional game on Monday Night Football does not, to me, knock you out of that conversation. I don't care who it was you lost to. Washington is, like I said, divisional. You got to take division games off the shelf, man. You got to let that does to me. When you're playing division games, all bets is off, man. It doesn't really matter. You're talking about familiar foes. It's too many narratives and when it comes to divisional games. So, yeah, they lost the game on Monday night, but I believe they're still right now the best team in football until someone truly proves otherwise. Because, look, Buffalo is good, but they sitting with 3 L's right now. Like I said, we don't even have 3 L's. We don't even have 3 L's. Like I said, not saying we better than Buffalo. I'm just saying, put it in the perspective that the New York Giants have a better record than the Buffalo Bills right now at this point in time in the season. Nobody saw that coming. But it's been another great week. And like Adam said, we will be coming on next Wednesday a little earlier than normal, 3:30ish. We haven't worked it out the exact time, but it's going to be either 3 or 3:30. Hope you all can join us next Wednesday with a little earlier time slot. Appreciate everybody that's been in the chat, man. It's been great always, man. You guys always make it fun. Guys be doing the damn thing. Y'all keep the show going for us, man. Keep us on our toes. Appreciate you, Unpopular Opinion Sports, man. You keep that chat lit, bro. Keep it on fire, man. Sub up to Unpopular Opinion Sports, man. Doing the damn thing. Check out his Heart of the City podcast every Tuesday night. Bull be getting it in, man. Talking about all the New York area sports, man. Yeah, definitely, man. Shout out to Unpopular Opinion Sports. Appreciate your strong support, bro. And everybody else in the chat, man. Really appreciate you guys. Really, really do, man. Thanks a lot. And we'll be back, like I said, next Wednesday, man. And you also know where you can find me Sunday immediately following that game against the Detroit Lions to get the good, the bad, and the ugly, baby. Whatever it may be, catch me on the True Blue Aftermath immediately following the game on Sunday, man. It's your boy, Mac the Giants fan. This is my guy, Adam Costas, man. Peace. I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you was feeling this, please take time to subscribe and smack them likes. Feel free to drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to ring that bell so you know when I'm dropping new content. It's your boy, Mac the Giants fan. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at Mac the Giants fan. That's MACDA Giants fan.